Best.
Good evening, everybody. It's 6:30 p.m. on the West Coast, 9:30 p.m. on the East Coast. It's time for your weekly Calamity Jane live stream. James, how you doing?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. Keep on keeping on. It's one of my favorite sayings.
That's good. The intro was spot on this week.
Excellent.
It's awesome.
Nailed it. I nailed it.
Great job.
It's almost a degree of professionalism unheard of before in the annals of the Calamity Jane weekly live
Yeah, we
stream.
don't want to get too professional.
Yeah.
I do want to keep it kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
suburban garage style if we can.
Exactly. Like keep it. We're
Keep us honest.
Mark Maron's WTF is really the vibe that we're going for, right?
I'm,
Recording interviews with presidents in our garage, that kind of thing.
I'm not even familiar I mean, ignorance here. I don't know who Mark Maron is, but I'm assuming it's a pop culture reference of some sort.
Wow,
Most other people.
James. I mean,
I'm probably out of it.
I feel like you've been living under a rock or something.
Maybe.
Mark Maron's a
Yes.
stand up comic. Um,
Oh,
and he started a podcast years ago now called the Mark Maron WTF with Mark Maron,
okay.
and it's gotten some amount of renown for his interview style. He's actually a really good interviewer, and he's interviewed a lot of celebrities and important people, and I believe that he even had Barack Obama on his show. But the thing
Okay.
is that, and maybe he's changed it since, but he used to record the podcast from his garage. So
Oh,
he had
see,
like the president of the United States in his garage.
that's pretty cool.
It's just
I bet
pretty
if I
crazy.
when you said he's a stand-up comedian, I'm sure I've seen his stand-up, but I just
Oh,
don't.
I'm sure you'd recognize him if you saw him. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
saw
yeah,
his face.
yeah. I don't think there's anything out about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but in any case, we are here for a singular reason, and that
Yes,
is
we
to
are too.
discuss
Yes,
things.
yes. To discuss Calamity Jane, and of course, I'm going to throw the kitchen sink at you this week and not talk about Calamity Jane in the first little bit, just to kind of geek out and nerd out with you, and
I'm
this will give
ready.
you plenty of fodder to carry on
Okay.
in our stream
You're just
as we talk about
seeding.
this stuff.
You're
Yes,
seeding
I
my
am.
rant for the week. That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So, as I just got back from a trip going to Texas to congrats. I want to first of all extend congrats to my niece and nephew for graduating high school. So
Mm-hmm.
the missus and I were out of town traveling to Texas and enjoying Texas for a little bit. Now we're back. But what I wanted to talk to you about,
Okay.
uh, I thought this is because we were going on the road. And normally I'm in under a rock, working on
We've
projects.
established that at this point in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
conversation.
Yes. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to actually stop playing Neo 2 and take my Switch on the road with me, right?
Oh, be still my
So,
beating heart.
yes. So, again, this is plenty of stuff. It's going to be candy store stuff for you, or maybe terrible cafeteria food for you. We'll see.
We'll see.
But, anyways, I'm one of the things on the road with me,
Yeah,
play with a little bit. So, I have two things I want to discuss with you.
I'm ready.
One is the pros and cons of taking the Switch on the road versus my 3DS XL.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So my 3DS XL has all these games on it. I love
Mm-hmm.
playing that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to take this on the road and just kind of try it out.
Can I stop you right there, real quick?
Yes.
Why not both? I mean, that's what I do.
Your solution is probably the best scenario, the best situation. But for me, I like to pack light, so I didn't want
Mm.
to. I didn't want to. I actually wanted to force myself to deal with just the essentials. I was either going to go one or the other. I already know what it's
All
like
right.
to travel with the 3DS XL, so I want to see what it's like to travel with the Switch. So took on a plane. It's great. I will say, I do prefer the 3DS XL for chilling, like on the couch or on the bed. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like this is kind of more. You're always kind
It's
of doing this
yeah.
with the
You are doing like an exercise, like squeeze on the ball. Yeah, because it's
yeah,
surprisingly wide. Yeah.
yeah. So I think in this case, I want it, but I still want to at least give it a shot. So, but here's the pro that I want to really talk about tonight.
Okay.
So when you take the Switch
Yeah.
and on the road, there you don't want to take the dock with you because it's just it's kind of bulky to
Cumbersome.
take with
Yeah,
you.
without a doubt.
So then I found this.
Yes.
This is the YCC Team cable
Yes.
connector, and what this does is it lets you connect the HDMI from your TV into this little port.
Mm-hmm.
Then meanwhile, you plug in the other end of this thing into the switch, and then and all you have to do is bring your AC adapter for the switch, and you plug it in, and you've got yourself a console on the road without having to take that giant brick with you everywhere. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, I tested it out. I played Mario Kart. I beat my niece on Mario Kart, so I got a
Good.
little bit
Excellent. Excellent.
You
You
it
have
was
to
close though.
you
It
have
was
to
close.
teach the younger generations a lesson.
Yeah. We need to. Yeah. So there's a little bit of trash talk going on. I'm sure there'll be a revenge coming soon for me. My younger niece, not the one that graduated, but my younger niece she was talking trash, but Don Kong took care of business on this thing.
Excellent.
But anyways, I have to say, now the Switch might win out against the 3DS because of this little device.
Oh wow.
And because you can go into any hotel room, and as long as you have HDMI connection, you've got a console again.
Yep.
And you got pretty competitive gaming on this thing. So yeah, you literally just plug in the HDMI cable into the other side of it, and then you put it from the AC adapter in, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I've been meaning to buy one of those for a long time, back when I was doing a lot more traveling, and then the pandemic kind of shut everything down, and I didn't travel for a long time, and so it kind of fell off of my to purchase list. But yeah, it is. I have traveled with the complete dock and everything, and it is inconvenient to say the least. So yes, it is how much did that version cost? Because there's like several different versions of them. There's one that I really like, actually. That actually it is. It doubles as the AC adapter and the dock, and you actually just plug it directly into the wall, like one of those little nubs on it for an iPhone charger. Uh-huh. And you can plug the USB-C charging cable and an HDMI cable right into it, and it's literally like an all-in-one solution that just plugs directly into a wall outlet. But that one's a little pricey. It's like $80.
Oh wow!
So, but how about that one?
So this one, and once I start presenting screen, I guess which I'll do now. This was going for about $22 on Amazon.
Right.
So it's a lot more of it's more, we'll share screen mode since we're going to get in that next phase. And of course, share screen mode is up and running. There's no longer drama.
It's not. There's no drama anymore. I know.
Yeah. Now, Steve says currently unavailable, but yes, they still make them. You can buy with PayPal, and according to the site.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I just wanted to geek out with somebody, and
Eric's
the perfect guy to geek out about this type of stuff.
No, it's one of those things where it's sort of like, it's a little disappointing that Nintendo has sat on it, and it's really one of those things where they're trying to. It's a marketing thing, honestly, in my opinion. It looks cooler, I guess, to have the Switch slide into the dock and the whole nine.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Rather
it
than
does look cool.
Rather than just sort of plugging it into a thing and then just like tossing it onto the entertainment center or whatever.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then also you've got the screen, and like, well, why can't you utilize the screen if you have to put it in a whole dock that completely obscures the screen? Yeah. Then you sort of get an out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. But it is sort of what it actually has led me to wonder when they inevitably do a follow-up to the Switch, and it strikes me that they've hit on something here that they'll probably continue on in the next iteration of their platform, whatever that ends up being. Part of me wonders if they're going to have some sort of portable solution, right? Because it seems that it really is these types of dongles are solving a problem that consumers are really absolutely looking for, right? And while Nintendo tends to march to the beat of their own drummer, and they tend to do whatever they want to do regardless of what the fans are looking for, they do ultimately come around and respond if they see something as genuinely a good idea. And this seems like a genuinely good idea.
Yeah, the bottom line is, like, for me, wanting to pack light, where I even left my 3DS XL at home, and not have to take a brick with me. I thought this might be the go-to way of doing my portable gaming as I want to, and convert the hotel room into a gaming center a pop-up gaming center as needed.
So
Um,
did you defeat your niece in grand fashion from a hotel room
no,
or?
it was. I want to brag, but no, it was close. It was really close. But
Uh,
DK won the day against Princess in that case. We played 3 races, then we had to go. But yeah, I didn't get as much in on the home console experience
yeah.
that I would have liked. But for all intents and purposes, for testing reasons, testing wise, it was awesome. I'm probably going to keep doing it for now. The only thing I don't like is, again, I have to just get adapted to it. But the default memory size in these things is pretty small, 32
Yeah,
gigabytes or
you
something.
have to absolutely buy an expansion
Yeah.
memory card. Yeah,
So
it's
this, yeah, go ahead.
it is a thing that they've done since honestly way back on the Wii. They
Yeah.
don't, and I'll be honest, like a part of me doesn't mind it, right? I mean, especially when you consider the PlayStation 4 and the slow read write speed of its hard drive. And there's nothing you can do about it, right? And it fills up quickly. I know. So I write a magazine for Call of Duty Warzone, and I use my PS4 for it, and I basically have to deleted everything off of my PS4 because Warzone is such an obnoxiously, aggressively, almost meanly large game that I didn't have any room on the hard drive other than for Warzone.
Yeah.
Whereas on the Switch, I when I filled out my first SD card, I just went and bought a bigger one, right, and tossed it in there, and everything was fine.
Yeah.
It's
And that,
super easy to expand, it's super easy to replace,
yeah.
so I see the logic in doing it that way, but
Yeah.
it's not perfect. There's no question about it.
Yeah. And that's what that was going to lead to my next part of this my discussion. Maybe I'll save it for next week since I might as well get into Calamity Jane stuff. But I mean, I what I ended up doing was I wanted I wanted to play some. I mean, I brought a bunch of games with me. I got really frustrated with Smash Brothers, so I thought I'd go to the eShop and buy a couple of the games, and I bought 3 of the games,
Okay.
which I want to actually review with you. Like do a 5-minute review and then get your
Okay.
take.
All right.
But maybe I'll stagger those out for the next in the
I was
upcoming
just,
weeks. I'll leave it with the cable thing for this week, and then next week I'll go into the next game that I got. And,
wow. Wow. It's
rant a little bit.
tension for me and for our viewing audience, which, by the way, we have 3 people viewing right now.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Hi, people. You're
Yeah.
part of our tens of viewers.
Tens of
That
viewers that ultimately catch it.
our
Right.
tens of viewers.
We.
Well,
We have a tendency to draw people in after the fact. I guess most of our viewers don't like the live show. They prefer to know that it continued or completed successfully, I guess.
if it was me, I would rather watch the post stream anyway. Then you just fast forward to past all my rantings and
Well,
and
and and honestly,
rambling.
I do so much censoring. I mean, there's all that nudity and unnecessary cursing.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, exactly.
you
Yeah,
can
all
only
the
get all
things.
the good stuff if you watch it live.
Well, maybe I will do one of the. I had one thing queued up, and I'll show it to
Okay.
you. Yeah, I might as well give you one game that I was gonna show it
Oh,
to you.
okay.
So yeah, so I've left Neo 2 just for the trip. I'm going back to Neo 2. But with all that being said, I ended up playing this game. It's called Music Racer.
Okay.
So I downloaded for like $5. It was on sale on the eShop.
Mm-hmm.
So so first of all, I gotta say, like, if we even have a critique system or whatever, let's just say it's fives is the max, right? So
Okay,
I would say,
Okay, I'm happy with that.
yeah, graphics wise, I would give this game a 5. I love the art
Mm-hmm.
style. I mean, I love the art style. I love the animation, and there's plenty to look at. The game modes in this game are pretty cool for accommodating you to be simply like there was a Zen mode in there where you can just play it and not have to worry about scoring.
Mm-hmm.
Or as you can see here, you'll see little dots that are collecting. That's
Mm-hmm.
part of the gaming element.
That's changing
Um,
lanes to the rhythm of the
yes.
music, I would assume.
Yes, and the music is
All
pretty
right.
solid. I would give graphics. I give it a 5. Music, I give it maybe a 3, 3.5. Again, I only played this for 10 minutes, and here's the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
Gameplay, I would give it a 1.5 or 2.
Ooh.
The
Wow.
reason why is I really wanted to have control of the car, and
Right.
instead, what you see here, and I couldn't tell from the video, so I watched the video first to see if I want to buy this game or not. Visually, I wanted to buy the game. Music, I wanted to buy the game. I play the game. You only have 3 lanes.
Right.
You hit left or right. You cannot actually control or drift the car. I'm
Right.
really stuck in one lane. I can't stand that. It's just,
Yeah.
like, I want to be able to drive away. I want to drive. So my attention span wore out because of that. Sadly,
Yeah. Yeah.
but if you want to just look at a kaleidoscope of interesting imagery and stuff, this game is beautiful to look at. I just don't like. It's sadly it's one of the weird scenarios where it's just I don't enjoy playing it.
It seems like a missed opportunity because I mean it's pretty clear that you can
Yeah,
do action and RPG stuff and all kinds of different genres to a rhythmic beat. I mean, Crypta the Necro Dancer is a classic example of, and then the Hyrule Legend of Zelda spin-off that they did for the Switch. Um, that you can, and I don't like roguelikes, so I burnt out of it really quickly. But from the standpoint of building a combat system and an exploration system around a rhythm game, it's obviously doable, and I completely can see where a rhythm game could work really well for racing. It seems like a real missed opportunity that basically
yeah.
all you're doing is playing a game of slot cars.
Yes, that's all you're doing, and that was just it just
Yeah.
made me kind of grumpy. It's like, oh my, exactly. You've verbally said everything I wanted to say without all the verbal diarrhea that I just but that was pretty much that you summed it up perfectly, which is why I want to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
Just to see if you happen to play this game or not. But for me, it'll stay on my Switch for a little bit longer. I might give it another shot because of the because of the visuals and the music. But I don't know if I'll be playing it. I just don't. I don't have it. I don't feel compelled to play it.
I will be honest. I tend to with indie games. There's just so many of them. I'm too old to expend the energy to try to separate the wheat from the chaff, and so I usually will let the internet do all of the research for me, and then
Yeah.
whatever bubbles to the surface these days. I mean, once upon a time, I bought every indie game under the sun and played
Yeah.
everything. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
my Wii U and Wii and Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 are graveyards of experimental indie games. But aside from the monetary cost, of which I can't really afford anymore, I just got burned too many times from interesting premises that didn't deliver on the final product.
Yeah.
And so, I have become a lot more gun shy about jumping into an indie game that superficially at least looks compelling, and this does look surprisingly compelling.
Well, here's the good news is again I only spent I think it was $5 in the eShop, which is a very small spend.
Sure,
And I
sure.
figured, like, you know what, it gives the publishers money to at least for experiment. I don't mind. I mean, that's less in some parts of the world. That's less than a cup. That's still less than a cup of coffee.
I mean, it's less than a cup of coffee in Georgia, so
Yeah. So there we
so
go.
yeah,
In LA,
it's less than a half a cup of coffee.
Yeah, exactly. So with all that being said, I don't regret buying it. I was just like you said, I was just disappointed in the missed opportunity of the gameplay.
Sure,
But
sure.
it's so much. I mean, like I said, I could stare at this for
Yeah.
days.
So if you're
Days on
looking
end.
for something, it's not strictly a racing game, but it is an
Yeah.
interesting experiment with rhythm games and sort of corridor shooters. The game Thumper.
Yeah, I think I've heard of that game too.
Okay, I would check that out. The difficulty I found was way, way, way too high for me,
Oh, yeah.
and the precision level was too high for my feeble, 40-year-old brain. But visually, it was astounding, and the gameplay wise, while it was beyond what I was capable of rising to, I could believe that if someone got good at it, it would be really an excellent gameplay experience. So,
Yeah.
add that one to your list. It
Yeah.
seems like it might be a little bit more of a delivering on the promise of the premise of this particular game. But it would be fun to think about like how you would go about designing an actual racing game with rhythm mechanics. Like,
Yeah.
would you do, could you do things like in Mario Kart, rather than just pressing a button to fire your weapon, you had
Yeah.
to do a series of button presses in timing with the rhythm of the music? Or maybe drifting around a corner, you have to go into the drift on beat and come off the drift on beat, and then maybe if you like tap the boost in a syncopated rhythm to whatever the rhythm of the music is, then you got a little extra boost out of it, right? Or what if like F-Zero style side swipes were more effective if you sideswiped to the beat of the music. Even more so, what if you got more boost out of your boost meter if you tapped it in rhythm? I mean, there's so many things that you could do with a traditional racing game mechanic, right? That you could put to the rhythm of music, and I can absolutely see it being enhanced. But I don't know. What do I know?
No, I mean, all that's. I mean, again, it's all kind of yeah, those would all be great ideas to use to implement for a game. It sounds like it'd be fun, but of course,
unfortunately,
it costs time and money.
It costs time and money, and in saying things, and this is this is one of the hardest part about game development that I think a lot of people learn when you get into developing a game. You can make anything sound really compelling and fun.
Yeah.
But then when you get to the actual mechanics of making it fun, there is a subtle component, a feel component, a je ne sais quoi, an intangible aspect where something that seems like it's really fun on paper doesn't end up being fun when you do it.
Yeah.
And this is a whole thing. I mean, like, I don't think we have the time for me to really go into details about this, but this is one of the problems with modern game development. Not the idea of experimentation, not the idea of good ideas that don't pan out. It's the pre-production isn't planned properly, right?
Yeah.
So
there's not enough time soaking it in.
Absolutely. So you get these game designs, you get these RFPs, you get these ideas that sound really great, legitimately so. But then you get a budget to go into production rather than proving out the concept.
Yeah.
And what happens is that the game gets made and it's not as fun as it sounded on paper. But there's no budget and there's no time to go back. Right, point. Exactly. And so it's really interesting to me to listen to reviewers who clearly have never made a video game in their life bag on a game, and their criticism is something along the lines of, this seemed like such a good concept, why wasn't it better? And I'm reading this going, I know why.
Yeah. But I get that too. But
and I get it. Obviously pre-production isn't a panacea, but if game development, if the way that the money was structured, if the way that development cycles were structured could change to accommodate for pre-production and prototyping rather than having to do all the prototyping in the middle of production, I think that you would see a lot less reviews of that nature, right? But again, that is the Cliff's Note version of a topic I have spent many hours ruminating on as I scheduled games that were like, man, what is going on here?
Well, the good news is I have 2 more games to give you 5-minute reviews, even though we're at 23 minutes. But I get 2 things there we can talk about. But but I got more stuff to talk to you about.
All right, we'll save that. Yeah, we'll save it. Yeah. But so yeah. In any case, yeah. We're making a cartoon.
Let's go. Speaking of production, let's go into why we have our stream at all.
That's right.
Calamity Jane, I believe, right? So
right.
Now here's the other things. Like I said, I was going to throw a whole bunch of stuff at you today. So
I'm ready.
We haven't gone to Calamity Jane yet, but
oh my god,
I want to show you. I know we were working on Clem last week, talking about math packs and everything like that. He's now on the shelf. I wanted to revisit Dry Gulp Gorge.
Oh, okay. Oh no.
So here we go. So I'm going to show you that. So here we are. Another version of Dry Gulp
Holy
Gorge.
Moly! It is a full-on metropolis now.
Yes, I've been busy.
Wow! Look at
trying
this.
To put together. So I know there's a lot to take. I mean, I know there's some things to take in, and I've thrown a lot of stuff here for you to just kind of check out and kind of take in, digest.
Yeah. That's so I'm There's a lot here.
Yeah.
This is great, and these are like really detailed sculpts too. I mean, these aren't like just boxes.
Yeah.
I mean, the train station is a box, but that's okay.
Now, I will say, I'm trying to treat myself with a deadline. So yes, some of these buildings I've made, and some of these I've actually bought off the internet in what do you call it? Those libraries where they just
Sure.
sell their models for like five, and I've tweaked them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't want to spend the time to keep making like like I spent so much time making this sheriff's building over here,
Mm-hmm.
and do I really want to do this 100 more times and make the same building over and over again, or duplicate and tweak stuff?
Right.
So these are essentially boxes with a couple of panels on them on some of these things,
Mm-hmm.
and I just wanted to make sure at a certain point I don't want to just keep. I want to spend time actually animating and not spending time making boxy models. But so I consider this more of a sketch, and for me to actually tweak it even more to what we want for Dry Gulp Gorge. But for all intents and purposes, this is laying out. This sketch is now more refined than what we had a couple, last year. I guess is the last time we actually probably visited this.
Now the anachronistic's not the right word, but the out of place structures,
Yes.
like the pagoda and the teepee.
Mm-hmm. Not only
Are
that,
you?
not only a skate park.
Is there escape? Oh, no. Are these thrown in there just as a um, curiosity kind of thing, or are you imagining that there will be a giant teepee on Main Street in Dry Gulp Gorge? I
I
ask
am
with
imagine.
no like. It's not. I'm not trying to set you up or anything. I'm honestly
No,
asking.
no. Without trying to get into the origins of Dry Gulp Gorge at all, but um, I wanted to get to a point. It's almost like I don't want to say that we're emulating Las Vegas, but in a strange way, we are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wanted to have something where build like when these buildings do show up in Dry Gulp Gorge, sometimes there is no rhyme or reason to where their origin came from,
Mm-hmm.
but they're there now and they have to live amongst the town. Um, so these structures, there may not be a true explanation as to what of how they were constructed. Did they show up, or were they actually built that way on purpose?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I will go into this. In the case of this Japanese structure here, I actually wanted to make this a general store. So I'm gonna I'll explain this to you visually here in my little
Okay.
mini screen. But the shopkeeper of the general store is kind of a instead of it's sort of like a weird inward version of Amazon, meaning imagine all the floors in this structure have everything you want. It's a one-stop shop. You walk into it, there's a character that has a wheelchair, but actually hooks the wheelchair up onto a grid system that actually takes them up and down like on a rail system.
Mm-hmm.
That lets like when you order like cereal, he goes up to aisle 5 up on top. I'll sketch this out. Maybe I'll add to it in a couple of weeks. But he'll pull it out, come back down, and then hand it to you, and then whatever the next thing is, he'll look at it, and so it goes up and down inside of this structure.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, like something like Mr. Jones' Grand Emporium or something is what we'll call it, or something like that. For the
Mm-hmm.
general store, I don't want to do a general store because I mean it's kind of expected, but yet
Right.
we
Right.
do have a lot of expected things of the Wild West here as well. So it is kind of interspersed. Like I said, I threw in the I threw in a skate park because of what's his name? Seth is that the name of
Yes,
the
Seth. Yeah. Yeah.
This is where he hangs out. He hangs out. He's skating all day on this thing. And I was actually going to build this out with wood kind of textures everywhere, so it does feel like it's part of the town. But it's a
Mm-hmm.
skate park. Why not? He's got a skateboard. He's got to use it. Um, Same with this enchanted tower over here. This will be made of wood, ideally.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like kind of Rapunzel's tower. I don't know who lives here yet. That's where
We don't
I'm
have to
throwing a
define
lot
it
of
right
ideas
now.
at
I
you.
mean, yeah.
Yeah, I'm. We do have wind power. It's not
I
just
love the windmill with the
yeah,
wind turbine fans and
yes,
blades.
yes, yeah. Because we have to. I mean, they do have modern convenience in this
You're
place.
right, of course, of
Power
course.
lines, of course, are here.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the classic water tower.
Mm-hmm.
I've even blocked out the train station where we have the train tracks. We're gonna have the train station show up here eventually because that's a major player at one point. Um, I do have to get in the cell tower because I know we need to put a cell tower in because you need reception for phones, right?
Well, keep in mind that I don't think we have to be completely
Literal.
anchored in the architecture.
Uh huh.
And I think it's okay to play with it. So if we don't have a cell tower all the time, I don't think that that's a problem. Knowing where we want it to be is good for storyboards and blocking and that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I've always liked the idea that Dry Gulp Gorge, to a certain extent, is what we want it to be we need it to be when we want it to be that. And I think having some consistent landmarks to give the space a sense of grounding is good. But I like the idea of the concept of flexible reality. Right, that notion that Matt Groening came up with The Simpsons, where you could bend the rules a little bit as long as you had some sort of foundation. Now, obviously, that got thrown out of the window after, God knows are they 30 seasons now or something along the lines, somewhere around there that sort of they abandoned ship on it. But I still liked the notion in terms of how we can make Dry Gulp Gorge shift and change to meet the needs of the episode. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. As far as not having an explanation for every single thing, not being literal about stuff. But I do want to make it feel like there will be episodes where, like, where did that building come from? Where
right.
that type of thing. I want that to definitely be part of the character of the town. Like, it is a Western town, but yet why is there a Rapunzel Tower all of a sudden in that background? And it's almost, and it doesn't have to be actually explained in an episode at all. It just happens to be in the background a little bit.
Yep. No, I think that's totally reasonable. And again, I think having permanent landmarks that we can use or not use at our leisure is good for anchoring the geography. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's great. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, we'll always have, like, there'll always be landmarks to kind of hinge a viewer to go, oh yeah, I know where that's at. That's by the sheriff's house. I mean, sheriff's office, or and of course the French cuisine place is always going to be in that same spot across the way from the saloon. Mitchell's Saloon is still. This is a placeholder. It's not the final version of the saloon.
Sure.
Yeah, the architecture, the layout for this is wrong. But I just grabbed something and then I tweaked a little bit, but it needs to be revised a little bit. Now, on the flip side, across the street, I think this could serve as a pretty good French cuisine place.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, there's nothing particularly remarkable about John Boy's establishment.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the gag, right? It's decidedly not fine French cuisine, but that, what does that even mean? Like, I mean, that's kind of the joke, right? It's like, who defines what's good or bad? John Boy is getting to define what he thinks is good or bad. So, I mean, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that building looks really good for his restaurant.
Cool.
It still could be a hotel. Like, his restaurant could be on the ground floor, and it could be a hotel above it. I mean, there's no reason.
That's true. Yeah.
Why the whole restaurant needs to take up 3 floors. So
that's true. Yeah. And you'll see that again, because we're a 2-man crew, you'll see some of these buildings are repeated a little bit, and that's intentional, sort of like crowd control. Like when you're seeing in a crowd scene, you'll see like kind of the same type of people kind of in the background type of thing. I mean, because no matter, but it does pose the question, like, how big do we want Dry Gulp Gorge to be? Like, right now we're looking at this thing.
I will be honest, like, any bigger than this is too big, in my opinion.
And that's where I wanted to talk to you about it tonight, because I don't know how much farther I want to build it, because right now, this size for you, Mitchell's house has got to be like, what, right here?
Yeah.
Right here?
Yeah.
I haven't built it, so Mitchell's house is still absent. They need to build that out. But yeah, and I was thinking to myself, like, okay, we need to so in my head, again, I am kind of, because I am privy to what we are planning for future episodes. I know we need some things to be kind of built in,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but I don't want to go too far out. But again, I'm always going back and forth because when we make other episodes, I don't mind like houses will show up when they need to
Mm-hmm.
serve a point or to be background stuff, and they may
Mm-hmm.
not even make any sense in the next episode. And there's a reason for that.
There
Which
is there is a reason for it.
yes,
Yes.
there is. So and this is what kind of again threw me down. Started thinking like, well, if that's the case, why not throw in a skate park? Why
Yeah.
not?
I
Why
mean,
not something?
and that's always the thing is Dry Gulp Gorge has the foundation of kind of a western
Yeah,
town feel,
yeah,
but we're we're not trying to make an old school western. We're not trying to do Searchers or Shane or
yeah,
even The Quick and the Dead, right? I mean, we're using western archetypes as a foundational
yeah,
aesthetic, but
yeah,
then by no stretch of the imagination are we trying to limit ourselves to that.
yeah. I mean, I definitely don't have any problem having a Western trope tumbleweed roll right by a sushi restaurant
Right,
in the middle of the Dry Gulp Gorge.
and it's
If
that
it
kind
serves a
of
purpose. Yeah,
yeah, and it's that kind of visuals that it's that kind of juxtaposition of otherwise unrelated concepts that I like, right, and that's part of the purpose of Dry Gulp Gorge is to help establish that mashup aesthetic that we're kind of going for.
yeah,
Yeah, it looks great. I love it. But I agree that this is about as big as I really want the town to be, because I still do want it
yeah.
to be sort of just a one-road, one-horse town kind of thing.
Exactly. Like it's funny when I'm trying to visualize this, I try to keep in mind that I wanted to, if we were to compare it with anything real world, it's got to feel like Baker in Baker, California.
Oh, yeah, I know. I've driven through Baker.
Yeah.
You
Oh
blink
yeah.
and you miss it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's always been the inspiration for this one street, is I want it to feel like Baker.
Hmm.
If Baker existed,
Sure,
in
sure.
Calamity
In
Jane's.
Calamity's James reality, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is how I would design Baker.
No, I think
That's
it's a great philosophy to adhere to, yeah.
But I mean, it does. But there are other questions that and again, I now that you've seen it, this will kind of start spinning your gears too. But like with the train track, how far do we have it go? Like, is there a mountain? Is there mountains over here that have it going to a tunnel? So we don't have to we don't have to talk about that right off the bat. Like this horizon line. Do we have mountains back here? Like
Yeah,
these are
yeah.
there's some things you and I probably have to talk about a little bit.
Yep.
I mean, but for all intents for episode 1, we don't. I don't. I mean, the shots are designed to where
Or the
we
build
don't have
interest, right.
yeah,
One of our viewers is from California and
Uh-huh.
confirms that yes, Baker is reminiscent, or Dry Gulp Gorge is reminiscent of Baker, and
Yes!
further adds
Yes.
that we need to add the giant thermometer from Baker.
yeah. I know. Well, yeah. So I was gonna. Yeah. So again, Eric, if you can think about what you want to use, unless you want to use giant thermometer,
I
it's
mean,
broken.
I
Maybe
mean,
it's but it's a great suggestion. I mean, I was thinking about that too, but I didn't want to. I was thinking about it going, you know what? I already threw a skate park game. I don't know if I can get away with throwing a thermometer in at this point.
we can play it by ear and see. I mean, the sky's the limit as long as it fits in with our own sort of bizarre. And there is consistency to the world. There is a method to our madness, even if it's not immediately apparent. So, which is why it's not like, yeah, let's just put in the thermometer. We do need to think about whether or not it makes sense. Are we anchoring it too much into basic reality, which is something we do want to try to avoid to a certain extent. Although, our reality does blend in with Calamity Jane's world, and that's intentional. So,
One thing I wanted to, I was actually thinking about deleting with the power lines here. Like I almost wanted to imply that power lines are run underground, but I know that we need power lines or some type of pole for some stuff, story-wise, right?
yeah.
So they stayed in here, so I want to get your thoughts on that.
I like them visually.
Yeah.
And again, it goes into that odd juxtaposition because there is so much future tech ultimately that we're going to see. The idea that it's still, using elevated power lines, I think is a fun. I don't know. It reminds me of like Batman the Animated Series, where it had this very kind of Art Deco style, but then all of the technology was very modern, minus the black and white televisions and things of that nature.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's something I've always loved about Batman the Animated Series. The original Batman the Animated Series is the juxtaposition of the aesthetics of the world versus the technology that existed within the world, right?
yeah, yeah.
And
It was
so
it was a unique characteristic of that show.
yeah, and so I that's always stuck with me, and that's part of why Dry Gulp Gorge has sort of taken on the look that it's taken. And it's for us, instead of Art Deco, we've gone with a Western thematic or aesthetic, but it's the same basic idea for me, right? But yeah, so we've been going for quite a while. We're at over 40 minutes now.
Yeah, yeah. We can call it good here, and we can just resume next week. And again, I have more Clem to talk about and other
Okay.
stuff. So,
But this was a definitely a freewheeling, fun conversation.
yeah,
Hit all the marks for a Calamity Jane live stream. As random and arbitrary as Dry Gulp Gorge is, quite frankly, um, except when it's not. Except when it's not. But thanks for tuning in, everybody. As always, you can find us on Patreon. Just head to calamityjane.rocks. It'll take you right to our Patreon site. You're presumably watching this on YouTube, but you can find us on Facebook as well. And otherwise, yeah, stay safe out there, and we'll see you next week. Good night, everybody. Yeah, good night.